Hello and welcome back to the 2019 St. Louis Norm Congress. My name is Caleb Denby. I'm filling in here for Ben Simon today, and as always I'm joined by the wonderful Aleksandr Lenderman. And so let's take a look and see what we got going on today, see where we sit in the standings and see what the players are trying to do. All right, so it looks like in the GM section we still have International Master Joel Banov sitting in first place, a half point ahead of the field. And tied for second are, three Grandmasters. So they've already got their norms, but they're still here to play some good chess. That's JJ, Ali Morandi, we got Jack Stambuliak, Dennis Burroughs, and also Tatev Brahimion, who is not yet a Grandmaster and is hoping to score her first norm here in St. Louis. And so, and then rounding out the field, we have Justin Wang, Brandon Jacobson, Andrew Hong, Brian Escalante, and Casa Corley.
So, with that said, let's take a look at one of the key matchups today between Brandon Jacobson, one of the top seeds in the tournament, still an IM, but very close to GM level, and Tatev Brahimion, who won 2 games in a row, including yesterday's dramatic win against Casa Corley from a position which seemed like was unwinnable. And then, I saw live, her game against Andrew Hong. She played a very nice game. She outplayed him. She played pretty well in the complications and won a nice game. So let's see how this game goes. So this was the winner of French, which is Tatev Brahimion's bread and butter. And here she played a little bit of a sideline, b6. It's a line that I've even played myself. Not committing to a quick c5, because after c5 there are a lot of lines like takes, 97, Queen g4, now there's this famous poison pawn variation, Queen c7, takes here, takes there, and let's say 92, and so on and so forth, with a bunch of heavy theory. And the line which I've seen Tatev play quite a few times, and I've played it myself, castles, and then bishop d3, knight f3, and so on and so forth, where white tries to get an attack, black tries to play on the queen side, and this is also a very sharp line. But here, in this game, Tatev decided to play d6, which I haven't seen her play that common, but it's certainly a very viable sideline.
So how does this serve to avoid the queen g4 theory?
So now the idea is if white goes queen g4 here, black's idea would actually be to play bishop f8, where c5 hasn't been played. The bishop is not forced to trade for the knight just yet, and then black tries to keep the game on a distance. Let's say knight e7, c5, knight c6, or maybe bishop a6, trying to exchange those bishops and try to play like a long positional game.
Right, interesting.
So white played a3, another main line. Bishop takes, pawn takes, and queen d7. So the idea of that move, it might seem of like a very clumsy move to everybody at first, but the idea is a prophylaxis. After queen g4, we're preparing for queen g4 by meeting it with f5, where conveniently the queen on d7 protects this pawn on g7 in a very nice way. So that's the main idea. For example, if you go here right away, then queen g4 would, or maybe takes and then queen g4, would either force g6, which would, potentially produce a lot of weaknesses, like after this, h4, h5, or you would have to move the king to f8, which is not to everyone's taste as well. I think that might be a line too, but queen g7 is a more popular line.
Right.
Queen g4, f5, queen g3. White doesn't want to take en passant, helping black with the development. So white plays queen g4, g3, bishop a6, and now this is still main line theory. h6, h4, trying to secure the knight on f4, preventing g5, and king f7, which is a very clever move with the idea of defending this square and meeting this with this. I've actually seen this in practice before. I've even played this myself before, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow.
With blacks. So I actually know a little bit about that line. a4, and that's, a typical move. Knight e7. Black now has two ideas. He either wants to play c5 right away, or he might want to go knight c6, knight a5, and control this c4 outpost.
Right.
h5. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering about black's knight on a6. That looks a little bit out of place. So
for now it is, but in the long run, black might want to go knight b8, knight c6. But first, he doesn't commit that yet because he knows he needs to play knight e7 anyway.
Right.
Then he needs to probably play c5, and then he'll decide what the knight will do. Maybe it will be more useful protecting the c5 square of dc, knight takes c5.
Yeah,
but maybe it will go knight b8, knight c6. But we'll see it. For example, if white would go queen d3, then for sure black would try something like this, or queen c8 followed by c5.
Okay.
So white played h5. It's a good question though. c5, rook h3. I'm not sure if white played in the most testing way in this game.
Right.
But because I think black already got a very good position. Rook c8, queen d3, knight b8, rook f3, all logical, knight c6. So as you could see, the knight now repositioned himself nicely. King e8, getting the king potentially out of attack. I'm sure knight a5 first was also possible, but king e8 should be okay. Preparing for white to play g4. White went for it. Rook f4, knight f5. So now you see the knight on e7 found another home on f5. Bishop e3. And this is where I actually don't like Tatyev's plan. Up to here, I think Tatyev played an excellent game. But this is where I think that she's losing the thread a little bit.
Okay.
You see, the knight on f5 is already controlling, a lot of these light scores very nicely.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I don't really see a point of going knight c7 where, basically the knights are duplicating each other. They're redundant.
Right.
They're both controlling the same squares. Whereas this knight does an excellent job here keeping white's counterplay at bay. And white's, for example, after a move like rook f8, white is not really threatening to take because of knight takes e5. So I think a move like rook f8, getting the last piece in the game.
Yeah, that looks very nice.
And after this, let's say rook f7.
Sure.
Black would, I think, be very comfortable here. I would say black is better.
Sure.
Maybe even king back to f7 and king g8 and, actually artificially castling.
Right.
Keeping the knight on c6 and potentially trying to go here.
So I was wondering, why not queen f7 here for black? Would that
Where?
here, instead of knight e7.
Oh, queen f7 instead. Yeah, then
Just
I guess
picking up the
knight
h-pawn.
g3 might have been the
right, of
point.
course.
Yeah, that's a good question also. Yeah, so rook f8, knight g3, then I guess now you can go knight c7.
Right.
Let him play knight g3 first, and then you can go knight e7. So again, don't declare your intention. The knight on c6 for now has flexibility. You see, it can go to a5, it can go to e7.
Right.
The rook on h8 has no other prospects besides going to f8. So it makes more sense to do what you need to do anyway first,
Right.
and then, you can decide on other things.
Stay flexible, right?
Yeah, but, unfortunately, Tatyev played here, and already after a5, this is becoming a little bit more messy. And even here, perhaps instead of queen c6, it was possible to do g5, takes on c4, and try to do knight takes g6, and maybe try to do something with that pawn.
Right.
But that's, of course, already a little bit more messy, so queen c6 is a human move. But here already I feel like white's getting definite counterplay. By the way, worth to note, maybe it was worth flicking in this intermediate move c4, after which queen d1, a takes b6. But instead, ab, queen a6 happened, and there were a couple of more moves played. Rook b8, which maybe also isn't the best. Maybe it was already better to give up the pawn this way and trade the queens.
Yeah, because the king's kind of stuck still.
But rook b8, dc, and already as we could see, within 3-4 moves, suddenly black went from comfortably, I think, better in my opinion, to suddenly on a very serious defensive and much worse.
Right.
So we can see that, even a great player like Tatyev, unfortunately misplayed a position, and sometimes, can help following general principles, like being flexible, can make a big difference in your own chess games.
Yeah, I really wonder why c4 wasn't played, because this looks like after takes on c5, the d4 square is going to be really important for white. And I feel like black would maybe still even be better after something like c4.
I'm not sure if he would be better because of course the c file would be closed and
Right.
it would be much harder for it. After a move like knight g3, I think it's anyone's game still.
Right.
But of course, I feel like after queen a6, rook b8, dc, white's getting everything. He's getting a pawn plus the activity.
Understandable.
And yeah, it's a pity because, well, I mean, maybe it's a great chance for Brandon Jacobson to make a comeback because he still has a chance to get a norm. But of course, it's a little bit of a pity for Brahimion Tatyev to lose this game where the opening just went her way. But maybe she will not lose. She already had a tough position against Casa, which she came back from. So
Absolutely.
still anyone's game. And also of note, Aaron only has 3 minutes left. Brandon only has 3 minutes left. I always confuse the
Very
brothers.
important.
And
it's nice that they both got to play here, but it is a little hard on us. So yeah, with all that,
I should know
analysis-
though. I've played them both. They're from New Jersey, and I've played them both tons of times.
Absolutely.
So, but somehow.
So let's actually take a look at some of the pairings we have for this round, actually. So As you saw, Tatev Abrahamian is playing Brandon Jacobson and seemed to have an advantage, but maybe it's slipping through the cracks now. And then we also have Casa Corley playing Andrew Hong, Justin Wang playing Jack Stambuliak, and JJ playing Brian Escalante, and Dennis Burroughs playing Joel Banov, who is the leader of that round robin actually right now. So that'll be an important game to keep an eye on.
Yeah, so let's maybe take a look at that game now. Let's see how Joel is faring in this game.
Yeah.
Important of note, Joel yesterday was playing Brandon, and I was following that game live, and I think Joel had a good position out of the opening, was outplaying him, but then, in a position which was still full of fight, it looks like he offered or took a draw, and I know that in my experience, whenever you take a draw in a position where you could still fight, very often that ends up backfiring, and we can see that in this game, Black is kind of struggling.
Right.
I mean, it's happened many times to me in tournaments where, like, I've taken a draw in a position I could still fight, and then I would end up losing this game. So let's hope this will not happen to Joel. But I mean, I was actually talking about it yesterday, how it's important if you really want to, get the GM norm and overperform your rating by like 150, 200 points, you got to take advantage of your opportunities. Because sometimes, there's going to be some games that go your way and you got to take advantage of them because there's going to be always one or two games which will not go your way against these good players. And in this game, it looks like somehow the opening went kind of well for White. It's a very ambitious exchange French from Dennis Burroughs. With the opposite side castling, and not sure if Black chose necessarily the best plan, but certainly he's playing very logical. He's trying to attack. So let's see what happened here. Yeah, maybe Queen C7 wasn't. Maybe Knight B4 was better, but of course it's hard to say for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural move still, Queen C7.
Knight B4 trying to just either trade or get rid of that bishop, but Queen C7 was played. Yeah. King B1 defending the threat, and now White has this threat, bishop takes f6.
Right.
So Black played here, Queen e2, but this whole thing didn't really do much. Unfortunately, Black can't even continue with rook e8 because of suddenly this very nice mate right here.
Yes.
So that means that Black has to play an awkward move like g5 or a passive move like Queen d8. So Black went for very concrete play, but it didn't really help Black's position very much. So Black ended up going g5. And White played bishop g3. Maybe even better was a very unconventional move g3.
Oh, wow.
Meeting bishop d6 with this amazing knight takes g5.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Bishop g3 is also very promising for White. And queen f1, a very nice subtle move, getting out of the pin, preparing some knight e5. So let's see what happened here. h4, rook e8, rook takes e8, rook takes e8, hg. Maybe it was worth keeping the bishop f5 or bishop e2. But he traded it. At least, that kind of alleviated some pressure. And maybe rook g1 wasn't the best. Maybe queen h3 was a little better eyeing this one. Forcing this and then maybe some knight a4. But he decided to play for rook g1, creating a not subtle pin, not subtle threat, bishop takes f4. But now knight h5 was a good find by Black, and it turns out Black kind of keeps his position together, because after this, queen f4, rook here. Amazingly enough, there's king f8, and there's a mate threat with rook e1 here. So there's not much, White is not winning, so White decided to go for the pawn, but this is only an extra pawn in an endgame, which, of course, could still... and also I don't think bishop e5 was the best move, maybe loses a tempo. Black probably wants to play f6 anyway.
Right, yeah.
And, now we got an endgame where, it's one of these, it's a double pawn, extra pawn but a double pawn, and maybe Black has fair drawing chances. And let's see, there's been a couple of more moves made.
Right.
Rook g1, cd, and f4. So, pretty sharp still, pretty sharp, interesting stuff. It's definitely a game to keep an eye on.
White may be giving the pawn back here, right? After something like...
If he takes, though, yeah, he could take, and then White wants to take. Well, the reason he did not take right away was because that would actually lose. King f6, you think you can defend everything with f4,
right.
But then Black comes with a nasty shot. Rook takes e5, removal of the guard, and Black is winning. That's why f4 is a very important move. But now it's, even after this, d takes c3, it's not so easy, because rook takes g5, king f6 still, and there's no, immediate win, and it's still anyone's game.
Yeah,
of
so-
course, white's pressing, but anything could still happen.
Yeah, absolutely. So with all that going on in the GM section, we do also have the IM round robin. So how about we take a look at our current standings there, and then maybe have a look at the pairings and see what players
Yep.
are up to. So leading the field, we have a four-way tie for first with Gory, Ezra Chambers, Aaron Jacobson, and Torres Rosas. And behind them, with 1.5 points, are Keaton Kira, Eric Rosen, and Rochelle Wu, the field's youngest player. And also, I think the lowest rated player, making a good showing of it, scoring 50% in these first 3 rounds. And rounding out the field, Kenta Shikurate, Peter Giannatos, and Aaron Grabinski. And so let's have a look at the pairings, maybe? And
Yeah, so
see,
let's take a
what
look at the
characters
Rochelle's
we have.
game, because
Sure.
this game is winding
So
down.
yeah, we're gonna look at the pairings, and then we'll
Yeah.
jump into that
Sure.
game. So we've got Keaton Kira playing against Rochelle Wu, Aaron Grabinski playing against Peter Giannatos, Ezra Chambers playing Eric Rosen, which I believe that game has finished.
Yes,
in
Eric won
Eric's
that game.
Yep, and Luis Torres against Kenta Shikurate.
And also Peter won against Aaron. That's
Yes,
also finished.
that as well. And then we have Gory playing against Aaron Jacobson. And with that in mind, our key matchup for this round is Aaron Jacobson playing against Gory Shankar.
Okay, but before we go to that game,
sure.
let's just quickly see what happened here. Basically, Keaton Kira is about to win against Rochelle Wu. It was like a slow Trompovsky game, and it was a slow type of game. And it's pretty natural for a more experienced international master to try to play a slower game against a younger player. And
Right.
it looks like Black was holding on pretty fine, but eventually White was able to outplay. I mean, at some point, looks like here maybe again the same 97. The knight was controlling the a5 square pretty nicely. White has to move to e7. It's not clear, and that's kind of where Black lost the thread. White got some queenside initiative, and this is where kind of Black's downfall started. And and then
file is rough.
yeah, and as you could see, White, and actually White already officially won because basically there's just no way of stopping queening either one of the pawns.
Yeah,
And
so they just got to an endgame.
bishop on a1 just nicely controls the square. So let's go, with that said, let's go to Gayuri Shankar's game.
Yeah, the key
against-
matchup.
against
So
Aaron.
both of these players, I think, are on 2 out of 3, and
Yeah.
so they're both tied for first, so definitely going to be a key match for the standings.
Yeah, so I know that for Gayurin really needs this win because he had Chikurata yesterday on the ropes,
Yeah.
but let that game slip to a draw, and then he had a quick draw the next game against Eric.
Right.
So he really felt like he needed the rest and recharge his batteries to try to play a good game here.
Came to play today, hopefully.
And he really did come to play because he played a very sharp line here with knight bd2, which is actually a pawn sack. And Black took on the challenge, accepted the pawn and played
Alright,
d5.
yeah.
Knight e5, knight is met with knight d5, so this is fine. Castles, bishop b7. And here, I might be wrong, but I think there is a move like this, and then some queen a4.
Wow.
Followed by maybe bishop takes d5. I
Right.
mean, there are some sharp lines here. Or maybe you can also start with a4.
Yeah.
I believe it's supposed to be okay for White, but White played queen c2 here, and
Interesting.
already after bishop e7, it looks like White's running out of compensation.
Right.
a3, a5, b3, maybe e4 was a bit better, but b3, c3, and yeah, that pawn on c3
Oh,
is...
yeah, the pawn just landed there. all
it's
of
a
a
very
sudden.
strong pawn, so I don't really believe in White's position here.
So maybe e4 was necessary, b3 maybe too premature since the c3 pawn
Probably,
just gets to
probably
live.
e4 should be played, and then somehow b3, and even this pawn that was hanging, bishop b2 and b takes c4.
Some development, right?
White still has very good compensation, but yeah, this seems like the wrong plan, and now Black looks like just up a pawn. Knight c6, trading off the active knight on d5.
Right.
Takes, e4, knight f6, bishop g5, castles, rook d1, queen e7, e5, bishop takes, king takes, queen takes c5. I'm sure Black saw all that in advance. With,
Of course.
takes. So Black is actually completely winning here.
Wow, yeah, I'm
Queen
I'm
e4,
just-
queen, and now, though Black made a mistake, he played rook f8, which gives up such an important pawn, which pretty much holds this pawn together.
Wow, yeah.
After which he loses almost all his advantage. What black should have done is a move like queen a5, because if you hold on to this pawn, you basically won the battle on the queen side. As
Sure.
long as you neutralize
so
black's attack,
don't
the
get
game is
checkmated.
over. So probably he was afraid of queen g4,
I would be.
and some moves like queen f4 with the idea of queen h4.
Right.
But then black still could defend very easily with a move like queen c5, and the queen can always come to f8.
Okay.
So there is never going to be any checkmating ideas. And as long as there's no checkmate, this pawn will eventually win the game.
Interesting, yeah.
So black, missed a very big opportunity here by kind of playing rook f8, which basically gives up the lion's share of the advantage, because now white gets back both pawns, and now you'll end up having some 4 and 3 endgame, which
Right.
is probably going to be a draw. So this is what happened. Black decided to play safe, but of course, now his winning chances have really taken a very big hit, and now white has excellent drawing chances, because also the pawn on c6 needs to be babysat, and
Right,
it's
of course.
very hard for black to generate very much. There has been a couple of more moves made. h6, rook d2, queen f5. Of course, black is still the one playing for a win,
Right.
but white has
expecting a draw at this point, right?
most likely yes.
Yeah, so, and now I think we're actually going to bring in Eric Rosen and have a look at his nice win today. And
Yeah,
so,
and let's take
maybe
a
we
look
can
at
pull
his-
up that game and take
yeah.
a look.
Yeah, so let's see what happened in this game. So his bishop, it was a Rui Lopez. It was a closed Rui Lopez. Bishop b3, bishop c5, knight c3, h6, knight d5, d6, c3, rook b8, castles, castles, h3, takes, ed, knight e7, d4, ed, knight takes, bishop b7. Yeah, possibly, rook e8 was also an idea to keep the bishop flexible, but okay, bishop b7, knight e2. Not quite sure about the move knight e2. Looks like defensive move, and now it looks like black is already taking over the initiative here. Queen d3, bishop takes d5, very nice tactic, based on the idea after this, rook takes e2. And from this point on, it looks like black won a relatively smooth game. So with that said, we have Eric Rosen with us in the studio today. Eric, how do you feel about this game?
I feel good. Good to be back. I think last time I was here, I was interviewing you.
Yeah, after
now
my
we've
game
switched
against
places.
Var. Yeah, I think
Right.
that's pretty cool. Yeah, so
I finally have respect for what it means to be a player.
and I finally have respect for what it
upstairs, yeah.
means to take interviews as well, because
Sure.
it's a little. It's new for me, but so we'll see what happens.
I'm not sure which is more tiring, like being a commentator or being a player.
Well, the
They
thing
both
is,
take a lot of
I've been
energy.
used to being a player and giving interviews, so for me it's already like very second nature. But taking interviews is something I'm still kind of mentally
It's a bit
getting used
different,
to.
yeah.
But I'm
So-
sure it'll be fine.
To come up with the questions.
Yeah. So, what do you think was were the main critical moments in this game?
Yeah, I mean, starting with the opening, I wasn't sure what to expect. I think, I mean, he's capable of playing a lot of things, and I did some broad kind of opening preparation. But he played sort of a mainline Spanish. I think the first move he surprised me with is this early d3.
Early d3. So you were expecting castles, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and castles is of course more of a main line.
And the game can branch out into like so many different ways. after
Yeah, there's
castling.
knight 64 lines. Maybe he was afraid of some.
Yeah, he
you
actually
know-
told me like after the game he didn't want to deal with like open variation.
Right, open
He wasn't
variation,
sure
yeah.
what to expect from me either.
Yeah, so he decided to play a more solid line with d3, which is a viable line. b3, bishop c5.
And this
And-
is a line that I've played before, but I haven't really studied recently. I know it's tricky. Like the move order he plays with, like knight c3 and an early knight d5, black has to be very careful. For example, I think in this position, the move order is very important. Like if I castle first
Instead of d6.
instead of d6,
There's some g4 or something?
there's some g4 idea. I forget when, but
Maybe not here, but
There's some geary game. Maybe like rook g1 first, or
maybe c3, maybe,
or taking on f6, bishop d5, then rook g1.
oh, maybe here? Could be actually. Well, then maybe knight d4, but maybe bishop d5 first.
I know at some point, like, it can get very dangerous.
Right,
for
yeah,
black.
yeah. So, I mean, the thing is, the move d6 you probably need to play anyway.
Right.
You're not going to be able to go d5, so it makes sense to just play it and see what
Flexible
he
move,
does, yes.
right.
c3, rook b8.
And yeah, I feel like the game was relatively level. Like, we were both taking
Yeah, this
our
was
time
all
early on.
pretty normal.
And then, I mean, the critical moment, I think, was knight takes d5, because it really determines the structure.
Yes,
And
yeah.
I was having a hard time evaluating this position, because when I played knight takes d5, I'm planning to go bishop to b7, so takes.
Instead of knight 65?
No, so when I play knight takes d5, I calculate all the way until bishop b7 what happened in the game.
Okay, got it, yes.
So takes and bishop b7. And it seems a little counterintuitive because my king side looks kind of vulnerable. Gives queen g4, queen h5 ideas, and then also like bishop c2, and my king can come under fire. But
Right.
I thought I had enough defensive resources with like knight g6 and queen f6.
Queen c8 maybe even, yeah. If queen g3, there's some takes, and
That's
maybe...
true too, yeah. So it seemed like there are a few options for black.
Yeah, it looks like black is fine. I was wondering if you considered an alternative here. Rook.
To force white to make a decision.
Yeah, no,
like
that
what
makes
to do
sense.
against this d5
Yeah, no, this
pawn.
makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I mean, trying to disturb his harmony. So anyway, he played 92. That doesn't seem like the most
Then-
testing move, right?
Yeah, I think around this point, next several moves for white were a bit passive, and
Yeah, now you have the
the-
initiative, yeah.
there's some very nice flow. Like every move I play improves and brings another piece to the attack.
Yeah, queen h4, b3, rook e8. Yeah, it's all very natural.
And
Queen
when I
g3.
play rook b8, it comes with a threat, which I think he just missed.
Right, yeah.
Just threatening bishop takes d5.
Yeah,
I'm not sure how white is supposed to deal with it.
not so easy. Maybe b4 and bishop b3, but of course that's...
It's a little bit ugly, yeah.
Yeah, it is, yeah. So yeah, it looks like, yeah, white kind of played too defensively, and now you even were
And
able
the
to win a
position
pawn.
just crumbled very quickly because all my pieces are coordinated, and I like this move bishop c6 with the idea of playing rook d5.
Rook d5, yes.
And there's an interesting line here if he plays rook e1, either rook to e1. I just trade, so takes. And then in the very end, I have bishop takes
Bishop
g2.
takes g2, yes.
This bishop is no longer covering f4.
Right, yeah.
So
Rook d5, queen f3, knight e5.
and at this point, I think it was just a matter of simplifying.
Yeah, although technically you could get away with rook takes d2 apparently, but you know, when you could play a move like knight g4, it's simpler. Because here,
Rook takes d2, there's knight f5 at some point.
well, if knight f5 here, I think you go knight g4, and this is a mate because king g1, queen h3, pawn is pinned.
What if king g1 immediately?
King g1, bishop takes f2.
Okay.
Yeah, and if he
Yeah.
starts with this,
Queen h8.
king
Yeah,
here.
I didn't want to calculate all these
Right, yeah.
variations.
Yeah, even
But-
here you end up with two pieces for
That's
rook in
nice.
the end.
That's true.
But of course, you know, when you see a move that wins in a simple way, then there's no reason to, you know, calculate something because you could miss a detail and then you can, you know, lose.
Yeah, I thought
because
this was relatively simple. There was one final trick after rook a2. I wanted to take with the bishop on f2, but then he has bishop h7 check.
Right, exactly, yes.
So be careful of simple tactics.
Yeah, always look at opponent's ideas. Yeah, and you know, here, yeah, this was a nice finish. The knight gets trapped, and well, it does get out, but now it's just 2 extra pawns with compensation, basically.
That 2 bishops and more active.
So
more coordinated
very
pieces.
nice game today.
Thanks.
Nice job. So I do want to ask you a question about the game number 2. I know that game, you know, it was a very interesting fighting game where Rochelle played very well and she came very close to winning. At what moment you thought that, you know, you start having real drawing chances and you start getting optimistic that you can save the game?
I mean, first of all, I want to just say one thing about Rochelle. I mean, she's developed a lot over the years. I played her at like this national event in Atlanta maybe 3-4 years ago. So she was like maybe 9 or 10 at the time. And we were just playing Blitz, but and she found some like very strong ideas in our game. Actually, I've been doing game recaps every day on my own Twitch channel. I'll post it on YouTube afterwards, where I go through my thoughts extensively. But I wasn't comfortable in that game, at least when I was on the defensive, I mean, at some point it was completely winning for white. But I wasn't comfortable until the very end when the pawn gets to a7, and then I
Yeah.
have the stalemate trick.
But I was wondering, I mean, there were a couple of times when you, earlier in the game, you could have tried to exchange the queens. Was the reason you didn't want to change the queens because potentially it would have given her drawing chances? Was it still that you were trying to play for a win?
I was trying to play for a win because I was up maybe 20 minutes on the clock, and she had, I mean, she got down to 2 minutes like pretty early. So I think like psychologically I kind of over pushed, and then it backfired, and then I had to hold on for
Yeah,
dear life.
because it looked like, you know, to me it looked like, it seems at first that her king was the one that was weak, but the knight on d2 kind of covered everything. And then your king actually in the long run becomes weaker because...
Yeah, no,
like
she
we
played
know-
incredibly well under time
Yeah.
pressure. I mean, she found, like she neutralized all my threats and then found counterplay. The g5 moves very strong. But
Yeah.
then when she was on like the verge of winning, she let me simplify into this ending, which was a little bit tricky.
Yeah, the endgame, no, I already realized once you got into that endgame, A and H pawns, I knew that there's a good chance you would draw that because it's very
It's
funny.
not so easy, yeah.
Were you familiar with the Vancouver positions and things like that?
So yeah, I actually do know the Vancouver position. I have a student who I've had multiple lessons like just on the Vancouver, so we played it out for both sides, and I guess that's one benefit to teaching chess. Sometimes my
Yeah.
students motivate me to learn these theoretical positions, but thankfully we didn't even have to get to that.
Yeah, she misplayed it. Yeah, but I mean, this is why, to all of you listening, this is why it's very useful to know theoretical endgames, because when you know some basic theoretical endgames, you know, let's say when you're defending, which kind of endgames to go to and how to defend. So I highly recommend to all of you to check out Eric Rosen's YouTube recap.
Twitch and YouTube.
To
yeah,
Switch and
but-
recap, because I'm
Thanks.
sure you'll learn a lot from that game, because it was a very interesting fighting game, and just the way Eric came back shows a lot of grit in the game, and you know, and now you know we see that when you fight off a tough game, sometimes good things happen to you later. You know.
Well, I do want to say, like, after that game, I was just so drained of energy. It was the last game to finish of round 2, and I think we finished maybe around 3:30, so I had 90 minutes to eat, rest, and prepare for the next game. And then going into next game, I wanted to fight. I played a London opening, like, trying to get in some preparation, but Gary neutralized like very quickly. He played one line, which I'm not so fond of from the white side, and then he offered me a draw, and I think it made sense to take it and just
Right,
conserve
and
energy.
recharge and focus on the rest of the tournament
Yeah.
and get your energy back.
So the 2 game a day schedule is brutal. Like if I had the game against Rochelle 4.5 hours and then have another 4.5 hour fight, I mean it's so exhausting. So
Yeah, and that's despite the fact that I know you've written some articles, I think, about good physical shape. So I think
course.
you're one of the more fit players in that field. It's very
yeah,
important.
I mean,
And I think that's what helped you grind through that Rochelle game in some ways. Physical, to everybody who's listening, physical fitness is very important. And I remember Eric has written some very nice articles on USChess.org, I think, about that theme. So.
also Christian Kurilla has like a whole article, I think one of the top articles of the year.
Is there anywhere they can see a link? Like,
That's a good question. You have to Google uschess.org, then either my name or Christian Kurilla's name, and you'll find the
slash
articles.
Eric Rosen or slash Christian Shirilla, and then if you really want to, you should be able to find it. So Eric, thanks a lot for coming.
So one more
Oh,
thing,
yeah.
I wanted to point out something,
Yeah.
because I was watching the broadcast right before I came on. In I think it's a Gary Shankar Jacobson game.
Yes. Yeah. So let's see.
Pretty
what-
sure there's a line that you didn't mention. It was a beautiful moment when Black gave away the B pawn. Remember this?
Yes, it was. let's
So
go.
queen takes b4.
Yeah, queen takes
So
b4.
I have a feeling that he saw queen takes b4,
Yes.
but he didn't see after c2.
Uh-huh.
White to move in this position. Maybe we can let the YouTube chat figure it out.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I didn't. Oh, yeah, that's.
Because if
that-
white doesn't have the next move, then
Oh, yeah, you're
black
right.
is winning.
Good point. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. You're absolutely right. Yeah, maybe this was what was missed, actually, by Brandon. I mean, by Aaron.
Yeah, it's such an unusual idea, and like you need the pawn on f6 to actually make it work.
Yeah, so we can show
So-
it now, right?
Yeah, I mean, if people want to think, like, just pause the video. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
go for it.
queen takes f8, double exclam, king takes, and rook d8. And then opponent f6 does an incredible job setting up a mating. Yeah, so that's why it's important when we're playing chess to calculate at least a few moves ahead. You can't just say, okay, queen b4, c2, and stop the variation. You gotta continue analyzing if you really want to become best chess player. And unfortunately, this was costly. As a result, at least what the good thing Aaron did was he didn't blitz out c2, assuming at least he double-checked the line.
Yeah, that would be tragic. For,
so he still will have, winning chances in this game. But of course, as we could see, this was what happened, and soon we're going to have rook takes c2, probably queen c8, 4 on 3, and 4 on 3, as we all know, very good drawing chances. And
that could be a long game.
It will probably be a very long game. I'm sure Black will try for a long time. But of course, probably Gayuri is very happy to get out of this with something like this.
Right.
Thanks a lot for mentioning that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm going to get some food and recharge and prepare, so I'll let
best of luck
take
to
my
you
place.
In the rest of the tournament, and I wish you very nice fighting games.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Yes, so now we're gonna continue looking at see what happened with Brandon against Tatiev. So we left you off with this position, I believe, after rook b8, dc, knight takes e3, f takes e3, queen takes c5, and in this position maybe b5 was a slightly better chance, but knight takes e3, f takes e3, queen c5 was played. King d2, maybe queen a7 was a bit better. It's still a complicated position, so king d2, knight f5, knight d4. Even here, Black should have tried to activate that rook somehow and trade off those rooks. Trade off his inactive piece for White's active, and it's still not all that clear. Knight f5 was played. Now White had actually a very interesting possibility of taking, queen a7, and then followed by queen takes g7 with a very big attack. But of course, it's very hard to see that in time pressure, so White played a natural move, knight d4. And even still, rook f8 probably should have been played. But rook c8, queen d3, king e7, rook b5, queen c7, knight takes e6, queen takes here, rook takes b6, knight d6, rook g4. And actually, even here, Black got chances because, for example, here rook takes f5 again was quite crushing.
Wow.
But knight e6, queen e5, and here this was quite strong. And then let's say a move like rook takes d5 or maybe even c4, better move. But it's pretty complicated, so White did this. And here actually, amazingly enough, Black is back in the game after moves like g5, shutting down the g file, or a move like knight c4. But unfortunately, Black took here, and this ends up being losing because after this, king c1, the attack just ends up being too strong. Queen e7, queen takes queen a6, rook e8, and then there's been a couple of more moves made. Rook e6, queen f7, queen a3, that's precise, and queen a8. And I think White is repeating moves, but actually White is completely winning in this position.
Yeah, the king on f8 can't really survive.
Yeah.
Yeah, with that in mind, I think maybe 1 or 2 games are actually wrapping up here.
Oh, actually,
we have a handshake somewhere.
There's breaking news. Dennis Burroughs did end up beating Joel Banov in this game. So CD was happened as we expected, f4, king f6. But now, instead of king f6, maybe this deserved attention. So king f6 was played. And now White went for a very interesting line, takes. And here it was actually possible to do this. White's idea, of course, was to give a check. Then maybe knight e3. And I'm not sure if this endgame is actually winning for...
Yeah, so do you play c takes d and then take the knight?
You can do cd, but then let's say king f4, rook takes e3, rook g8, and there's still some maybe drawing chances here. I don't know. Rook e5. And amazingly, maybe this king and pawn endgame is not losing. Like, let's say here, king c2, king f4, and then king e4. But of course, it's very hard to see that. So king g7 is natural. f4, but now white was able to stabilize that knight. Takes, knight d6, king c2, rook h8, rook d1, and yeah, looks like now, well, there was one trap you cannot take because of knight e3.
Of course.
But rook b1, rook h2, king d3, rook h3, king e2, and now knight g4, nice reposition of the knight. Knight here, and probably was better to just try to get counterplay with d4.
Sure. It looks, I mean, to my eyes, it looks kind of hopeless at this point.
Yeah,
right?
he just
the pawns are
repeated
just too
moves,
strong.
but now g6 is coming, and there's going to be a mate threat, and
Right.
that's all she wrote. So with that said,
So yeah, that's huge for the standings, right? Because Joel was actually leading the field by half point. And
yeah.
So I think this.
and by the way, some breaking stuff happened in this game because, as we said, white was totally winning, but here white went for this line, which was not actually the winning line. White should have played c4, undermine this pawn, and threatening rook takes e4. And there's nothing actually black can do. Black's still stuck in the pin. And even giving this check is useless because just king b2. So there's actually no way black can really stop the attack.
Sure. So yeah, why didn't white? What did white go for instead? I'm sorry.
He gave a check, took, and went for queen takes d5. But
Wow.
this actually is still a chance for black after a move like knight g5. It's still not so clear, amazingly enough.
You're like, knight g5 doesn't. Queen f5 and then queen e5.
Queen f5, knight f7.
Knight f7. Okay.
Yeah, defending on the blocking the f file.
Yeah, just.
Well, because right now black has to do something. The white is threatening queen f5, so black absolutely has to defend against this threat, followed by queen takes c4. So it's still a very dangerous position, but Tatia found knight g5, so she's actually completely back in the game. She's actually maybe amazingly not worse again.
That's
So
incredible.
this is really a very back and forth game with a lot of swings, like an incredible fight.
Well, it's just I guess in lieu of pawns, black is just guarding his king with the pieces directly.
Completely incredible game, yeah.
Putting bodies in the way to
Yeah.
fight the king. So amazing stuff.
So which game should we go to next?
Yeah, we might want to check out.
check out Jack's game maybe against Justin Wang and see if I know that this was a very complex French game with a lot of back and forth games, and now it looks like it's heading towards some kind of a draw because
Very locked center, right?
it's very hard for either side to really break through. I'm not even sure who's playing for a win here, so we'll kind of leave that game aside for now, and let's check and see if anything happened in the Chikorate. That was actually a very big update because Torres Luis Carlos won just now against Chikorate. As you could see, white is about to queen the pawn, and once again it looks like the opening went a bit tough for black. And if we've noticed, Chikorate has had some trouble a little bit with black, getting worse positions. So I guess that's something to think about for
Maybe
him.
some opening mistakes. Then.
Yeah, in future tournaments, because he's a very sharp player, playing very ambitious openings.
Right.
But of course, when you play sharply with black, you could get bad positions and you could get outplayed. So this is what happened.
While you analyze this game a little bit, I'm actually going to bow out. I think we're going to have Dennis Burroughs in for an interview to go over that game that he just
Perfect. So let me go back to the Tatiev game because that's really a game that can go either way. It's a very dramatic game, and now we see Brandon is going down to his last seconds, desperately looking for a way to continue playing, and he came up with the move Queen C5, giving a check, seeing what black does. So now black has a few ways to deal with the check. He can go Queen E7, or he can go King F7. If he goes King F7, actually that would be a losing mistake, because after Queen F5 check, King E7, Queen E5 check, there's no way to defend against the mating attack. But Tatiev played the correct move, more natural move. She played Queen E7. So Queen E7 was played, and this position should still be a draw. So a couple of more moves were played. Queen C8, Queen E8. And I'm wondering if, Brandon will just, make a perpetual or repeat moves, or whether he'll actually try to play for a win. But we'll let them fight it out. In the meantime, we have a guest here, Dennis Burroughs, and let's check out his game. against Joel Banavo, which we just took a look at. So, Dennis, thanks a lot for coming.
Yeah, thank you for
Thanks.
having me.
Yeah, so how do you feel about this game? What did you think were the main critical moments in this game?
So I think, well, in the beginning there were many critical moments because I played kind of a very new system that's
Yeah, and the new
Yeah.
system is, as I was saying in the live commentary, it's exchange French, but in a very ambitious way with opposite side castling.
And it's actually funny because if you play the French, and you do, you know that white is basically playing the reversed French attack.
Yeah.
So if we can go back a little bit,
Yes.
and let's say e takes d5 instead of knight c3.
Yeah. Oh, I see what
Yes.
you're saying. Yeah.
So e
ED.
takes, e takes, knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5, bishop g4,
Right.
castle, queen d7, and voila, it's the reversed.
Okay, yeah, of course, yeah, but
Yeah.
of course here it doesn't quite work because there's queen
Yeah.
e1, knight e5,
Yes,
but
exactly.
up a tempo
Yeah.
you can play that,
Yeah,
right, that makes
probably
sense.
bishop d6 here, right?
Yeah, you have to play
Yeah.
bishop d6 or something like
Yeah.
more subtle, but
Yeah.
yes, that's a good point, yeah, and in fact Simon Williams, shout out to him, he recommended this system I think in his chess.com videos.
Wow.
So, with black, so, yeah, but of course if you're white, you're up a tempo, this kind of thing works pretty well, and I'm not sure what is the most critical move here, actually. Maybe it's, not playing c6 right away, but in any event, was this still your prep, or?
Yeah, c6, rook e1 was still prep, but a5 was interesting, and in fact I was wondering if he wants to go knight a6, knight c7, knight e6, because I think if the knight lands on e6, there's nothing.
I remember that I had a game which was very similar to that in this kind of similar tournament here against Darius Swierj.
Classic.
In the fall classic. And I also tried to do this plan, but there he played more subtle. He played with bishop d3, f3, knight e2. He ended up castling short once I committed on this plan. And I actually ended up getting a bad position because once you play a5, knight a6, it's very hard to play c5.
Yeah.
And it's hard to take advantage of the f3 move.
Yeah.
And I learned a lot from playing the game. Amazingly, I saved a draw, but I was completely losing in that game. I was completely outplayed. You can also check out that game that I was black against Darius. But here it's a little bit different story because it's an opposite side castling.
So he played bishop d6, which either a very good move. I think he has to go bishop e6, and that's critical. I'm not even sure. I can go knight f3, go knight e5,
Yeah.
and
Looks just a fighting position.
yes, I'm not sure
before.
if white is better. I think it's just a game.
Yeah, it's certainly a very sharp position to
Yeah.
analyze. But bishop d6 might still be okay, but I'm not sure about h6. What was your plan if he would have played the simple knight
I
before?
think still knight e5.
Still knight e5,
Still
right?
knight e5.
Knight e5, and then yeah, maybe
Takes queen d3. And I mean, you still have issues with your bishop on c8. And my plan
True.
is very easy. I go h4, g4, f4.
Yeah, so
Obviously,
it's
I don't have time for that, but
probably equal position, but
Yeah.
maybe easier for white to play,
Yes.
especially if you're familiar with it.
Yeah.
So h6, bishop h4, and now he played for a very concrete plan, but it just doesn't seem to work. I think he should have still played knight
Yeah, knight
b4,
b4,
and traded off his
Yeah.
knight that's offside.
yeah.
But instead he went for this, tricky idea, meeting this with this, of course. But of course, after simple king b1 and bishop f4, probably also not best. It turns out that it's very hard to deal with this threat at knight of bishop takes f6 in a comfortable way.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this from the suffering side. It's very hard to do anything because it's a close position and black misplays all of his pieces.
Yeah.
Shockingly, there's nothing.
Yeah, and after this, by the way, did you consider this interesting possibility of
yes.
g3?
Yes, when he played g5, I said, oh, wait, what if I do g3? But felt that bishop d6, knight takes, h takes, bishop takes, g5, and I don't see a reason why to go for this variation. And like I felt that I'm comfortable, why risk this? So I wasn't sure. But I saw this g3 idea. I don't know, is it working?
It's completely winning.
It's
probably.
winning. Wow.
Yeah, it's more than +2.
Oh, so I guess knight h7 takes, queen h5.
No, knight h7 is mate, right?
Yeah, it's mate.
Taken
It's
queen
just
h5.
mate.
Yeah, so I think he has to play some queen d8, but then queen f3. It seems kind of hard to defend here, I think.
And king g7 just h4, h5?
rook e5. Some of.
Oh,
Yeah, or maybe it's not so easy to see all the subtleties, but basically it is
Yeah.
completely winning. But yeah, I mean, it was certainly a very interesting possibility. But of course, you're right. If you don't see it all till then it makes sense to play bishop g3 because it's simpler.
and I'm not sure about queen f1. I felt
Queen
like
f1's probably pretty good, yeah.
I felt it's very ambitious because I saw queen e7. I think is also an advantage.
Yeah, queen e7 is definitely also much better.
Yeah. So queen f1, and I think he should never take on f3 because I have
What
an
else
easy
though?
attack.
Knight e5 though is coming.
Yeah, that's true. Knight e5 is coming, but I think he should. I don't know.
No, I think actually
Maybe it was correct,
he played
yeah.
kind of resiliently, but maybe h4. Maybe you can play
Bishop f5.
Bishop f5, but h4 because actually he got at some point real drawing chances.
Yeah.
Right. Hg
Yes.
takes,
H.
takes, and then maybe queen f5 here, and maybe
Maybe
queen h,
take immediately. Yes.
or maybe queen h3, or maybe take immediately.
Queen
because
h3, king f8. I'm not sure if I have anything.
some knight a4,
Oh, knight a4. Oh,
kind of
so
subtle.
Subtle knight b6 threats.
Yeah, I'm not
Okay.
sure. I'm not sure if it really. It's. I mean, it's maybe knight a4 right away also.
Uh-huh.
But you know, it's.
Yeah, knight a4 is very computer-like.
yeah,
It's-
that's true.
I would never think of it, honestly.
Yeah, because the knight on c3 is
Yeah.
not doing
Oh,
much.
yeah,
But
we're probably right that I should have played bishop f5 earlier.
yes,
And here, yeah, my king is a little bit.
yeah. Here
Far
actually,
away.
if he goes knight e6, what would you do here?
I thought I have bishop b6 here.
Bishop b6, yeah, and let's say king f7, and then
Yeah.
rook is just coming, and now your bishop is kind of out of play.
Yeah,
So actually, I
Yeah.
think black was close to being
Yeah.
completely fine, but of course, it's
Yeah.
still you have the practical advantage, and eventually you were able to grind the win out. You know,
Yeah.
you played, I think, a very nice technical game. You know, f4 was of course
yeah,
nice
it was a,
point.
yeah.
Those
Also
four.
was a must.
Oh yeah, because I showed already in the
Yeah, like I could even lose quickly if I fall for some tricks.
Yeah.
Like rook g5, king f6.
yeah exactly. I was showing that in the
f4 and rook e5.
Yeah.
and that's very painful, especially after a good position.
yeah. Yeah,
And
but
f
this
takes-
was
yeah.
this was nice. Yes.
Yeah. F takes g5. I was very happy when I saw f takes g5. I
Yeah.
knew that everything should be under control now.
Yeah, you're always, never losing chances and always much better. And from this point on, I think you played quite well. I mean, there may be subtleties, but, your technique from here was excellent. And of course, here he lost two tempes, but
Yeah, but it was already losing.
very going downhill. So, excellent game, Dennis. So, that brings you to, what's your score now?
I think +2.
+2, very good. So, hopefully a chance to, really do some damage and show these, guys who are trying to get norms still, kind of.
There's something left to learn.
Something
maybe.
left to learn, yes.
Yeah, but yeah, I was pretty amazed with Justin's game yesterday. He beat Kasa Corley. And
Yeah,
it
I
was
saw
a
that
very
game.
nice positional game. Like, it almost seemed flawless.
Yeah, it was very nice. Yeah, I
So-
saw it live.
I kind of felt that deserves a mention. That
What's your opinion about currently this position? Well, actually,
it changed.
White is now completely winning with
Yeah.
Queen b8 and
Yeah.
Rook takes f7.
You just said that will Jacobson take a draw? I think he never takes the draw in risky positions.
Yeah, I didn't think it's very realistic. So he
Yeah.
ended up playing here, knight f7, rook e6, queen g7, queen c5, king g7. What happened here? Rook e7, and here rook c8 was Tatsev's chance to come all the way back.
Yeah,
So
but rook c8 is quite strong. I mean,
yeah, but I'm wondering if there are any other moves besides that. But yeah, it's
maybe not actually.
maybe not. Yeah, but yeah, this is
And I guess
the current position. So I'm wondering if he will find some.
he'll just take on f7 and queen h8. No,
Could
Rook
be.
F7,
Yeah, he did
queen
that.
H8,
Yeah,
and,
he did that.
and it's just only. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean, well, actually, I think, he missed a very big chance here with queen
queen
f6.
f6.
And then actually black is in some zugzwang with just c4.
So you're just pushing the pawn up.
Yeah, there's nothing to... Amazing game. But instead this was played, and now we have this position on the board. with
think-
white having all the winning chances, but it still might not be so easy to
Yeah.
win, but should be probably closer to win than draw, right?
Yeah. Although the king is quite close, and the h pawn starts running, so it's kind of a close-ish call. I mean, white should be winning.
Yeah,
And-
so
and-
amazing, dramatic
Yeah.
game, and yeah, once again, I'll let you rest before your next game now,
Thank
and
you.
thanks a lot for coming here.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so this game is now in an endgame stage, so we're gonna start looking at some other games just to kind of see what's been happening. And wow, this game, you know, for a long time I kind of wrote it off as some kind of a maybe a draw, but then something incredible happened. You know, Jack decided to just sacrifice a piece here for a pawn. I don't understand this at all. Like, what is he trying to do here? How? I mean, he's probably trying to play for a win, but now he'll probably will be losing. And where exactly even is his winning chances? So it seems like a very odd decision here. This game is over. Let's see what happened in the Gayuri game against
Absolutely, yeah.
Jacobson. Has there been any special events
They got
happening?
to the pure 4v3 then.
Just pure 4v3, and this is also going to be an end game that's going to be a grind for obviously a very, very long time. So let's see what else. This game we looked at, this game we also looked at. And then there's, you know, this game can also take a while, so let's go back to... we never really got a chance to look at Andrew Hung's game against Casa Corley, and unfortunately Casa
trouble
Corley's
continues, yeah.
troubles continue. 0-4, and remember, you know, he had very nice positions in the first two games, and it's, unfortunately, if you start off badly in a tournament like this, you miss chances, your mood's not the same, and you're just doubting yourself, and it just somehow happened. I mean,
Can be tough to come back
he had
from.
like, for example, here he had a good position out of the opening against Andrew, and you know, Andrew sacrificed the exchange, which probably should be taken right away, and then let's say rook d1, but unfortunately for Casa, he allowed c5, after which very nice passed pawn, and now he took, but now the pawn on d4 is
Right,
significantly
yeah, it's-
stronger.
It's a much better pawn structure.
And even here, it looks like, you know, Black's position was easier to play, and, you know, just kind of lost the thread here, and Black won a nice game from here on. Pushed the pawn and defended all his weaknesses.
Yeah, it makes it look easy. Just simply putting the pawn on d2 and then using the knights.
Yeah,
to,
and it's a very nice recovery for Andrew after his tough loss yesterday against Tatiev in a back-and-forth game. So let's take a look again at Brandon's game. Let's see if anything major happened. So we were left off with somewhere here. As we said, you know, here white was completely winning, but again, with so little time, it's very hard to play very precise. So now we have an endgame where white has excellent winning chances, but of course, black is not without drawing chances, because as we know in queen endgames, there are a lot of perpetual check ideas.
Right.
And you always have to calculate a lot. So let's see if Brandon will be able to grind through the win here.
Yeah, and this endgame is... What if black simply tries to just push the h-pawn? I thought...
Yeah, probably something like queen h5, and then white will hope to push this pawn across, or this one before black.
Sure.
Somehow be able to coordinate the queen and the pawns in a way to kind of keep black's counterplay at bay and, you know, get his own counterplay going. But of course, this is going to be still a very long road ahead for Brandon. And in Jack's game, nothing really much happened. He just took the piece, and I don't know what it says 0-0-0, but there's no result. I'm wondering if black actually lost on time, or maybe...
yeah, it's possible that the game's still going. These clocks aren't always accurate to the second, so...
Yeah, but I mean, there haven't been any moves made yet, so I'm a little unsure.
I think actually that might be the position on the camera there, so we can actually see Jack still considering his move.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, this is Jack, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're still playing, but somehow it's not updating us. And what is this game? This is, yeah, this is just, okay. So let's check on Gayuri's game and see if anything. Pretty much still kind of the same thing. No progress has been made.
Right, you know, the
So
4v3, it'll be there a while. But yeah, this position with Jack actually looks pretty interesting, right?
well, yes, except for we don't see any moves here. So
Right, yeah.
it's pretty hard to.
Some difficulties.
So
there.
let's just go back
So
to.
yeah, we can actually just look on the screen here maybe and see what's going on. So
Yeah,
it looks like they are just down to pure queen endgame. So
Oh,
somehow
it's a-
black regained the.
It's a
the
queen.
piece.
Is it possible that there are some moves that were incorrectly inputted? Maybe that knight
Yeah.
takes d4 never even happened.
Yeah, that's
because that was a very odd
seems
decision.
kinda likely,
But
yeah.
I mean, from what it seems like white is actually.
in trouble, right? This c pawn is
well-
quite far down the board.
Yeah, and I mean, white is hoping for some queen c6, queen counterplay, but it looks like it could be dangerous. It looks like black is the only one who can win here.
Yeah, I don't really believe in queen c6 actually. After just c3, can't queen c6 just be met with king a5 and the king just comes up the board?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I mean, it's although no, actually c3 would be a huge blunder here. You know why? Queen a8 check, king b6, and queen b8.
Oh goodness, yeah. All right, so that.
So
that is
black
the
has to be very precise.
Yeah, maybe king a5 then.
King a5, yeah, and then there's also an idea like d5 sometimes, you know, trying to make the e6 pawn faster.
Right.
So there's still some dynamics in the position, still, you know,
definitely a lot going
things
on.
to play for. But I would still say black is the one with the winning chances.
And we see Arbiter Sam Shoiket there, leaning in.
Yeah, but anyway, we cannot really take a look at that game, so we'll
Sure.
have to just settle on seeing this game. So as I predicted, h4 was played, and then he centralized the queen, which is oftentimes a very good idea in queen endgames. King f7, maybe king d7 was actually better, and now white played c5. So the idea is simply to push the pawn, and if h2, h3, h2, white is kind of faster. So
Yeah,
it looks like
looking
white's
at it
making
here,
progress here in this game.
Yeah, looking at it here, the king just, the black king can't really seem to help at all, and then the white queen nicely defends the diagonal. And
Yeah, the
pawn's
general
kind
rule of thumb is the queen, in queen endgames, the queen is very important to be centralized. Well,
Right.
in middle games too, but especially in endgames like that, if the queen is centralized, it usually controls a lot of very important key squares. And that extra pawn that white has, c2, basically shields the white king.
Yeah, somehow, you know, there's no diagonal check thanks to the queen, there's no rank check thanks to the c-pawn, and then the queen really can't make its way to the b-file for...
Right,
there's
so I would
there's
say there's a
no
very good
counterplay,
chance
yeah.
that white will win this game because it's just very hard to defend, probably.
Yeah, I actually, I don't see what black's doing about just simply c6, c7, and then queening almost directly.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So this game will probably be a win for white, so Tatiev tried h3. But actually, now c6, h2, c7, you know, white will queen first, and of course, if white will queen first, in an open king position,
Yes.
white will just be checkmating.
The
So,
two queens do work together well.
so I expect white to play c6 here and not fearing ghosts, and I expect white to win this game.
All right.
And this game, now we have the right position here. So let's see what actually happened here. So, actually, it was knight b4 that happened, not knight takes d4.
Wow, interesting.
So this piece sacrifice makes much more
Yes,
sense
the
because
connected
after
pawns
this,
do.
at least they're connected passers.
Work better.
And I'm not sure if white has to accept it, but he did, and he actually was able to generate some winning chances. After bishop d1, king a5. I mean, again, maybe a5, queen takes, and then queen a4 was better, but that's very subtle, trying to create counterplay with bishop d7.
Right, yeah.
Instead of that, bishop d1 was played. Now black could play b3, but played king a5, queen b2, queen c7, bishop e1, queen b6. I would still say white is not worse here. Bishop d2, queen a6, king g2, queen c8, bishop e1, queen c6, queen b1, queen b6, queen b2, king a6. So they're kind of going back and forth.
Yeah, making some increment.
Yeah, and now white decided to sacrifice this, which is a very practical decision. Now, you know, you only have one pass pawn to deal with, and after king f5, we actually have this position where king f5 was indeed played, and now white played my idea, which I was talking about, d5, ed, because if queen takes f3, then of course the pawn on e6 will win.
Yes. And
So-
the king is close enough to catch the
Yes, exactly. So black took, and now the best move might have even been to play e6 first.
Yeah.
But he took this, which is very natural. king takes a4, and then he played e6 in this position. And I would say in this position it's probably roughly equal, because I think the pawns are equally strong, but maybe it's even white who has the practical advantage.
Looks a little dangerous.
Dangerous for
so
both sides.
Speaking of centralization, maybe queen c2 here for black, and then queen a4.
Queen c2
Or-
is probably a good move, yeah. Queen c2 and but probably
yeah, I
not.
guess you can't make it to e4. 'Cause
Probably
that
not
would
queen,
just take,
because
yeah.
the thing is then e7, e8 comes with checks. So if you queen at the same time, white pawn queens with check.
Right.
But probably black should try to think about trying to make a draw here with a perpetual. And he did that with queen b2, which is also fine, and white played king h3. And now maybe a move like queen e2, trying to get closer to the white king. And we're not really worried about the f5 pawn, we're just worried about the e6 pawn.
Right, yeah.
And this probably should be a draw with perfect play. And let's go back quickly to Brandon's game. And it looks like it's already close to mate here. So h3, c2, h2 happens, c7. So now, unfortunately for black, he has to move the queen out of the way. And still one more chance.
And we actually do have a handshake there.
Yeah,
Okay,
because
so I
if
believe
queen
Tatev
first,
just, resigns.
then queen b4, still amazingly enough, will be a perpetual.
Yeah.
So white
there's,
still has to be
there's shelter
careful
for the
till
king.
then. Check, and queen d4. And now this is completely winning, because we cover the checking square, then we queen, and once they're both queens on the board, white has an easy checkmate attack.
Yes.
So Brandon did end up being prevail, and hopefully we can have him in our studio very soon to talk about a very nice game.
Oh yeah.
But in the meantime,
we'll give him some time to.
yeah, but in the
recover.
meantime, let's check on this game and see if there's any updates. So it looks like they've repeated moves a couple of times, and it looks like they might be heading towards a draw, trying to going for repetition of moves. So let's stay on this game for a little bit and see if there are going to be any updates on this
As
game.
always, I do want to mention here, while we're kind of in a lull in the action, you can watch us on YouTube. Use the hashtag NormCongress if you want to reach out to us. We do have the chat up here. It's good to see you guys all watching and enjoying. And yeah, hopefully we can continue to give you guys more of this, commentary over these tournaments we have here. Oh, and we actually do have another handshake. So.
And that game ended up with a draw, I assume. And yeah, it looks like
Yes.
they agreed to a draw with a perpetual. I mean, maybe white can somehow play on, but it's risky, and draw kind of makes a lot of sense here
Right.
after a long, tough fight. And let's check. So this looks like the Aaron Jacobson game as the last one remained, and looks like still no headway to be made, just the 4 and 3, which can still go on forever.
So, I'm always curious, so what pawn structures are best for the defending side here? Is
Usually
this
the pawn-
F2, G3, H4?
Yeah,
ideal?
that one is good. I think usually even also the pawn on f4 is also fine defensive, as long as the black pawn's not on e5 yet.
Right.
So yeah, but this one is a standard one, and basically if the white pawn is already on h4, it's going to be very hard for black to get a winning chance, because if you go g4 trying to make progress, you're going to exchange pawns, and the more pawns you exchange, the more closer it will be to a draw.
Absolutely.
And speaking of g5, black did try g5, because he probably was shuffling for a long time. What else can he try to do? But of course, this is probably just a draw. He took on g5, king takes, and a move like king g2, and we expect this game to end in a draw. Of course, this game can still take a while, but certainly draw is very likely here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
they can't all be, Tatev's game. Some
Yeah.
of them do have to end.
Well, this game
peacefully.
did have some interesting moments, and as we know that Aaron will probably be kicking himself a little bit for letting
Right.
this one slip away, and
Yeah, missing maybe that nice queen takes f8 tactic.
yeah. It was probably a combination between overestimating white's attack there,
Yeah.
and also thinking maybe he's winning another line, and sometimes that happens. We misjudge a couple of lines and we go for the wrong line.
Things can certainly slip by pretty quickly.
So I guess we'll have to stay at this game for a while, because that's the only game left.
Yeah.
So white played rook a8, where trying to go rook g8. Just
Yeah, so we actually do have Brandon Jacobson here, ready for an interview.
All right, perfect.
After
So
his,
let's,
amazing win against Tatev. So
yeah, so
maybe we
let's-
can pull that board back up.
yeah.
and
So let's get
take a
back
look.
to Brandon, and I guess there are a couple of moments that I'll ask him about. So once again, that was a French line, which since it was such an interesting game, we'll probably start off around this moment. G4 takes, should be 3. A5, yeah, so we'll probably start off somewhere around here. So as we've discussed, here I thought after knight f5, bishop e3, I thought knight c7 was kind of going in the wrong direction because it kind of let white get counterplay on the a file, whereas rook f8 would have made much more sense. And after knight c7, a5, queen c6, takes, queen a6, certainly white is now getting a lot of play. And even after this, black can still play rook f8. There is certainly a lot of counterplay chances. But, now we can speak to the man of the hour himself, Brandon Jacobson. Brandon, what an interesting game. Congratulations on pulling it out. How do you feel now?
I mean, I'm relieved that it's over, but it definitely wasn't easy. I was probably in trouble at some point. But.
Yeah, it was a very back and forth game. Well, the first moment that I wanted to ask you about is, were you surprised a little bit that Tatsiev here played knight c7 on move 20 in this position?
Yeah, I feel like I had to somehow show an idea for rook f3, because after rook h3, my original idea was to not play with queen d3 and play for queen h4 and a quick g4. And the idea being after c takes d4, knight takes d4, something sharp like this, but I wasn't too sure how to evaluate this. So I figured queen d3 would be safer.
Right, but of course then black also gets a comfortable game.
Yeah.
And that turned out to be, maybe rook h3 then wasn't the best idea. But here, I thought that black should probably try to play a move like rook f8, getting that last piece in the game.
Yeah,
and then, after a move like rook takes g4, takes, and I mean, maybe only if knight g3, then you can go knight c7. But for now, we're not sure where the knight belongs. But she made a mistake, I think, with knight c7, which gave you a lot of counterplay with a5. And even here, black should probably at some point play c4. Maybe even in this position, c4 was maybe possible. Although I still think that white is already kind of comfortable.
Yeah, after c4, I figured something like queen d1, take back, knight g3. I'm getting a lot of counterplay here.
Yeah, for sure, yeah. And also black lost his counterplay, but still it's very solid for black in any event. But of course that would have been better than the game. And here you're definitely in control.
Yeah, the main point is if instead of knight takes e3, d4, I have knight takes d4 and the queen can go back to f1 to defend.
Right, so if queen h1, queen f1. Yes, yeah, very important. Yeah. So knight takes e3 happened, and f takes e3, queen takes c5. And here you played king d2, which is of course a very natural move. Did you consider this move queen a7, which is a little bit unusual, but...
I mean, as you can imagine, we were both really low on time here. The game was so complicated, so I didn't really consider anything besides.
Yeah, it's a very hard to criticize in time pressure, such a complicated position. So king d2 was played, and now once again, Tatsiev should have activated the rook that wasn't doing anything. Knight f5 was played, and here you had another interesting moment. Rook takes, and then queen a7, followed by this. Quite incredible.
I probably had a few wins even after knight d4 also.
Knight d4, maybe rook f8 was possible, but rook c8, queen d3, that's a good move, keeping everything together. King e7, rook b5, queen c7. Knight e6, very natural, queen e6. Rook here, but amazingly that knight was, just maybe it was good to try to get rid of it, because that knight turned out to be a very stubborn piece, just always kind of in the way.
Yeah,
right?
I had just a few seconds here, and I was trying to calculate rook takes f5 or rook takes d5. I couldn't find a forced win, so...
Right,
I didn't realize how strong knight d6 would be.
Yeah, knight d6, and amazingly after rook takes g4, even here there was rook takes d6 maybe, and getting rid of that knight, because amazingly, after knight c4 or even g5, it's still anyone's game here. But queen e6, rook here, king here, rook g6, knight e4, king c1. Now again, you're in very good shape here. But of course, it's still a very complicated position. By the way, here, a very interesting idea was to play c4 to try to undermine this. And amazingly, it's one of these where you don't actually have to force anything, because black is so tied down that there's not much you can do. But, after a very sharp game, this is still very unclear, amazingly.
So I was considering taking a draw here, but you can go a few more moves.
Yeah. in this position?
Queen c5, king g7. So rook e7 was kind of a risk because we were both so low on time. Black actually has rook c8 here.
Yeah.
The idea being queen e5 looks winning, but black can go just go king f8 here.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and I might be in trouble of losing.
Yeah, so you would have to go queen
Queen
d4 or
d4, yeah.
something like that. Right. But so you saw
I saw
rook
rook
c8.
c8, yeah.
But you're probably not risking that much. You're still probably within drawing range. But of course, there's a good chance in such a position that, you know, this move might not be found. Yeah, so that was a good risk. It paid off because now you ended up getting the queen centralized, and amazingly enough, maybe there was a quicker win with this and then some c4, c5, and black is again amazingly tied down. It's just an incredible game. Like, this game to go over, it might take like 3 hours or more, and still like so much to learn for me. But it's ultimately you went for simplification, you know, which very good winning chance, and I think her last chance was probably king d7, keeping somehow the pawn on c7 at bay maybe.
I feel like this should be winning already. Queen d5 and then c5.
Probably it is winning, but maybe
Yeah,
a
definitely
slightly better
chances, yeah.
chance. But you know, after she moved king f7, then from there on you played very routinely. And I like this queen e5 a lot. It's just very nice centralization. And the last moment was very nice, stopping the perpetual counterplay. And you know, you ended up winning. So very nice job on
Thank you.
you know, winning in the end. And how do you feel? What's your strategy going forward?
I feel like in a lot of these round robin tournaments, when I focus too much on the norm, it makes me underconfident, and then I spend too much time in my games. So I'm just trying not to think about the tournament situation.
Yeah,
Play.
very good advice to all of us. Very smart approach. So I'll let you rest now and make sure you, to take your nap and eat, and hopefully, you know, continue your great enterprising chess, and hopefully, you know, more and more games will go your way. And I wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Achieving the best result you can get in this tournament.
Thank you for having me.
No problem. All right, so with that said, let's go back to the game we're still going. Ooh, a lot of interesting things have happened here, but it looks like it's still gonna be a draw. So Aaron is, you know, desperately looking for a way to continue the game going, but of course now, you know, he's losing back the pawn, and you know, at this point, well, actually, you have to be careful. You cannot take right away because king g2, it's still a little bit of a trap, and actually you end up losing here. But of course, you know, we don't expect white to fall for this trick and take this pawn, although king g2 is a threat, but king f1 actually makes a relatively straightforward draw. But it certainly was a very nice creative attempt by Aaron to try to keep the game going.
Yeah, wonderful stuff. While we do wait for this game to kind of wrap up, do you want to take a look at maybe the prize fund, see what the players are playing for?
Sure.
there?
Yeah, let's take a look. Yeah.
So yeah, in the GM section, actually, it's pretty interesting. They're playing for $2,000 in first place with a total prize fund of $9,000. And there are no losers in St. Louis. Everybody walks away with something, and 6th through 10th all get actually $600 for their troubles and their 9 rounds of chess. And actually in the IM section, what we have is a prize fund of $6,000, first place being $1,200, and once again, 6th through 10th all getting $400. So maybe not the best tournament, maybe not the norm they were hoping for, but at least some nice change to go home with.
Yeah. So yeah, here Gayuri is thinking. I'm wondering if he missed the king g2 idea. I mean, you would think he should find king f1 just because it's kind of losing
Necessity, right?
otherwise. But I'm sure he's worrying about, let's say, calculating some e3, rook takes h5, here rook h4, and here, okay, there are probably several ways you can make a draw. The simplest being rook f4, takes, and now a very important move, king e2. And that way you get the opposition.
Right.
So that's one line that leads to a very clear draw.
Is king e2? I guess there's e takes.
King e2, there's
f2.
e takes f2 and king f1. That's the line I was thinking about. But this is also, of course, leading to a draw because even though 2 pawns, I just remember the Wonder Game at the U.S. Championship.
No, yes, I was thinking of this as well. And
Yeah,
there's some tricks there, but not enough, right?
Not enough, yeah. It's still a draw. So, I mean, you'd think, he should be able to find King F1 because it looks like actually the only move, but it should be enough to draw
All right.
with perfect play.
So, as I said, these players are playing for a norm, and maybe we can actually take a look at what that entails in this event. So,
Yeah, so
I
maybe we
believe
should
in-
take a look at GM Norm standings because I think all those are finished.
Sure. So let's actually read a little bit, do some education here. So to earn a norm, of course, you have to have a certain performance rating. In this case, thanks to the average rating of our players, everybody in the GM section who's playing for a norm will actually need 6.5 points to get that norm. And of course, you have to play players from so many different federations, and so thankfully we've got them all here with JJ representing Turkey, Jack Stambuliak representing the Ukraine, Dennis Burroughs from Hungary, Brian Escalante from Peru, and Casa Corley from the Netherlands. And so, and so as you said, maybe we can take a look at the GM standings as all the games are just about wrapped up here. And it looks like we're going to have Dennis Burroughs in clear first. with his
Overtook the
win.
lead from
Yeah.
Joel Banov, won a key game.
That big win. And then Brandon Jacobson also staying in the
Very,
second place
very big
position.
win for him, and came back into the norm hunt basically.
Absolutely.
And then Tatiev unfortunately losing, but still very much having a very solid, good tournament. Four resultative games, very good fighting chess.
Definitely.
And Andrew Hong won a nice game, so he's also back in the norm mix, still
Right.
having a chance.
It's early, any of these players could.
And even Brian Escalante, if he wins all his games, he can still theoretically get the norm.
There
And
you go.
unfortunately, only Casa is having a very tough tournament. But
yes.
let's hope that he has also his inner strength in him to continue fighting and playing good chess, and
Right, yeah.
maybe spoiling some people's tournaments,
Yeah,
playing a
absolutely.
spoiler's role.
And maybe we can also take a look at the standings for the IM section. Of course,
Oh, by the way,
games are over yet, but,
by the way, King F1 was indeed played as
yeah.
expected.
So King F1 was played in that game. So we are expecting a draw. And this is not yet official, but
This is the current position, but here both Rook F4 and King E2 lead to draws, and
Sure.
you would expect with 5 minutes, good player like Gayuri will figure out the precise
course.
way to make a draw.
Yeah. And so with that expected draw, we actually have the standings, I think. We're flipping around a lot here, but it looks like, so we got Luis Carlos in first place with 3 points, as it's kind of a mirror image of the GM section.
Actually, yes.
Then trailing him are Gary, Aaron Jacobson, Keaton Kura, and Eric Rosen, actually. And Aaron and Keaton both moving up into that second place position with a big win today. And so, again, all these players pretty much.
Yeah,
in
once
the
again,
norm
the
hunt.
IMs are not the title holders are not making it easy for the norm hunters.
Right, yeah. I mean, they've gotten the title for a reason. They've been through the ringer. They've
Yep.
certainly earned it.
Yep.
So showing why they
They
do
want
have the
to.
title.
They had to work hard for it, so they want to make sure that the other people also have to
Yes.
work hard for the title, which
as they should.
as they should. And in the game, Gayuri chose another method to make a draw. He played Rook H2,
Simply defending.
Simply defending, which is also totally fine. And again, Black took on F2 here, as we can see live. I expect White to take back. And now Rook takes F2, should make a draw.
Yeah.
And
This is,
again, there's some practical chances for Black if you're playing a rookie player, but of course
it's pretty well straight out
with
of the.
with 30-second increment, against a 20, against in this kind of a tournament, we don't expect
Right.
somebody to lose this.
It's almost just a straight Philidor position.
It is going to be a Philidor position, or although the Rook is going to be on the third rank, so maybe it complicates things just a little bit.
Right.
But even with the Rook on the second, there's still, it's still a draw.
Absolutely.
So, very big margin for error here.
So yeah, with that in mind, we're really expecting a draw here. I think we might just go ahead and wrap up now. I think it was an incredible round of chess today. Certainly
Yeah.
a lot of games that we weren't expecting to be quite that interesting. Really, the players certainly showing their fighting spirit, especially with Jack sacrificing that piece, trying to make that endgame into whatever he could. And of course, the Jacobsons continuing their run of the tournament, performing
Yeah.
well. So with that in mind, be sure to join us tomorrow at 2 p.m. once again, Central Standard Time when we start. And that'll be day 4.
I do want to mention something here.
Sure.
Maybe after rook takes f2, maybe Aaron will try king g2, one last minute trap, hoping for this, and then suddenly black gets the one with opposition.
Right.
But of course you don't have to take, it's chess, not checkers. And you could just go king g2, takes, and king h2, and it's still drawn position.
Definitely.
But I think that actually there's nothing to lose anyway, so I think he will try king g3 if this does happen.
Okay. So tomorrow we'll be taking a look at all the games once again. You will still be here, Alex,
Yep.
but unfortunately I will not, as Ben Simon will be reclaiming his rightful role as a host of the show. And so I'm sure all the Ben Simon fans out there will be happy to hear that. And with that in mind, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for letting me co-host with you, Alex.
Sure.
I had a great time.
Thanks for helping the broadcast go much smoother, and thanks everybody for joining us. We'll see you back tomorrow.